one of the key factors that the heads of state considered in adopting a plan to develop pharmaceutical manufacturing on the continent was the whole issue of security of supply. When you talk about proximity, when you talk about local production and the importance of proximity to market, we should also bear in mind that it just doesn't go down to the level of regulation only. It also talks to the ability to respond to the demand in the various countries or regions quickly. If I can give you an example, often when tenders are floated, for these public health goods, you'll find that low-cost producers from the East would win these tenders at very, very low prices. And often what happens when they win the tenders, there will be a stipulated lead time of, say, 12 weeks. And we've had experiences in the past where, a few months down the line, 6 months down the line, the product has still not been supplied, which puts significant pressure on health systems because patients' treatment is interrupted or they have to be given, short supply. Invariably what that does is obviously to force countries to then buy from alternative sources at a higher price because this is emergency supplies. So local production would have the added benefit of ensuring that countries can call on locally based suppliers who can respond to demand urgently. It's critical because if you understand the situation in Africa, the forecasting and the quantification of volumes that are procured is a very inexact science and people often get it hopelessly wrong. So emergency orders are basically, a common phenomenon. The other issue, of course, is there was a realization that as the companies from the East that predominantly supply, Africa, shift their focus more and more to the East, they would at some point, potentially because of capacity constraints, disengage from the level of commitment they have currently to Africa. The other issue, of course, is we know that companies, especially those from the East, enjoy significant, cost advantages compared to the African counterparts. The question is, how long will these cost advantages last? We know they set up in special economic zones, they've got various government incentives, free or low utilities. We know that there are tax benefits and tax breaks and all kinds of incentives to produce and export. Now, these incentives are by their very nature time limited, so they will run out at some point. Secondly, if you look at the cost advantage that Eastern companies have, it's really because, obviously they are ruthlessly efficient in their production methods. They've got very low salary rates. The cost of putting up a production plant is much lower. Everything is cheaper than what you have in the continent. But that cost advantage is slowly eroding as salaries go up dramatically, as the cost of compliance increases. And so what we are finding is that price advantage is starting to erode, and we believe it will erode further in future. So it's important to acknowledge that and know that this price advantage will not persist forever. Equally related to that, the heads of state realized that local production was a reality on the continent. And of course, we could not attest to the quality always of that local production. So what the plan calls for is not just for local production, but importantly for quality local production. And it has various elements that talk to the issues of regulation, of skills development, of increasing efficiencies, of opening up markets, of helping companies access products and technology. So